Thank you, fans. Thank you. Love it. I do love it. I love the benches. I really do. Now, welcome back. I'm Stanford Chidge, and of course you are watching or even listening to the Chelsea FanCast, and we are discussing the Spurs and Chelsea match. Actually, in particular, we're discussing Torres. Now, the point I was trying to make before the break was that, if you raise your hands to anybody's face in football, whether they deserve a monster slap or not, and I personally happen to think that Vermaelen did, you do run the risk of being sent off. And I just wonder, whilst I absolutely applaud Torres's being up for itness, for want of proper English, for the entire match, I wonder if he's got a bit of a petulant side to him. Now, there's a stat that I got the Chadmeister provided for me. I actually requested this. This is the first time in history that Chidge has requested a stat. But I just had a curious kind of suspicion that Torres as maybe, being a bit petulant, because he's been sent off a few times. If only I can actually read it here. But basically, he's been sent off against Swansea. He's been sent off against Man United, and he's now been sent off for Tottenham. He's been sent off 3 times for Chelsea. He's never been sent off for Spain or Liverpool. And I'm just wondering, is he becoming more petulant? Is that something to do with his hitherto poor form? It's interesting, isn't it? What do you think? It's Darren, by short.
I was just going to say, I'd say with the Swansea one, I don't think so. He scored his 2 goals. He was just like...
He was really up for it, but it was a terrible tackle.
He needed to kick up the backside.
Yeah.
And
it was only 1 goal for what it's worth.
For Swansea, I thought he scored...
No, he scored once. And
he set one up.
Is this the problem? Does he play better when he gets wound up?
Well, we all think so, or gets smacked in the face.
Yeah.
I mean, we had that theory last year that when he got smacked in the face,
he did from then on. Just wonder whether. But I was suggesting whether you have somebody in a opposition shirt in the dressing room at half time to scare him, and he then comes out really wound up.
There's a theory there. I like that.
I was just going to say that when he was the scratch actually was in. Was so put in so many slow motion and so many times. In actual fact, he passed his hand very quickly over his face, and they've made it look with his finger. And the reason he didn't fall over is I think he's got no nails, Torres, so he actually didn't scratch him at all. He just gave him a kind of little rake. He does. He does.
Yeah, I think they're well manicured.
I think they would be. They would be if you're earning that much money.
You were desperate to come in with a point.
Sorry,
I don't think we should. I mean, I thought Torres was pretty appalling in the first half. Although it was a standard Torres performance, and not looking interested. Something happened at half time. Someone maybe smacked his head against a wall or something like that, so he had his bounced off head. But he was up for it in that second half. But I mean, if you look at the red cards he has had, they've generally ruined some kind of momentum that he's been beginning to pick up, and it's almost as if.
Well, if he gets the one game off, then perhaps he'll be okay. But if he gets done again and there are 3 more games added to it, then he won't have the same momentum again.
That aside, I still think actually it was one of his best performances for Chelsea. I mean, I really don't. I do hope that it's not like a parallel with the Swansea match, because he played really well in that match, then got sent off, and then his form dived. I think the most important thing, and I think what might determine this, is how long is he out for? We haven't had the FA. They are going to look at it, aren't they?
For really, really boring reasons that I can't be bothered to go into on the show, I would be highly
I'm really glad about that.
Yeah, I'd be highly surprised if he gets charged with.
You don't think he will?
No.
I think it should be 1 game, 2 bookings, normally a game.
Because the press are trying to hype it up. That idiot Graham
The
Poll today.
The press don't understand
one at a
the
time.
rule.
Patrick Barkley had a go in the Standard as well.
No, really, what a surprise.
But the press don't understand the rule. The rule that changed over the summer is only for really, really exceptional circumstances. This isn't one, basically.
I'm amazed that the press don't understand something. I mean, look, I really hope that he doesn't get banned for a long time, clearly, and I also hope that he carries on where he's left off, because I think it's very interesting, isn't it? Jose Mourinho is the master manager.
Oh, wonderful.
And it seems to me that he's doing a great job on Juan Mata, but it's not inconceivable that he can do the same for Torres. And isn't it interesting the way he's treating them? He's clearly providing Torres with the confidence and the love that we all felt that's what he needs to get himself going, whereas Mata's getting a boot up the behind, and actually that's also having the required effect. He is such a master manager.
But particularly with Torres, you're basically making that assertion on 45 minutes of football. Like, the first half, nothing had happened. Whatever he'd been doing in the past clearly hadn't worked for that first half. He scored a goal against a League One team that weren't very good, but in reality...
Pablo, this isn't one of your college debating things. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? I just want to say one thing. I'm only winding you up.
Yeah.
He looked so crap, didn't he? He had that kind of soppy,
he was making a
puppy
point.
dog look on his face.
He was
like
making
you
a
do.
point before you lost interest.
Well, and it was a good point, and you've been a bit horrid to him.
All right, okay. I will only do this. I will only do this once.
I'm allowed to say that.
I
as
will
the
only do
guest.
this once, but as Jonathan's an actor and he can be relied to do this, you're allowed to slap me on my hand for once only.
In what kind of
There's
style?
I haven't got anything wrong with it. And this stuff.
In what style?
What's your
You can't-
motivation?
you can't. No, it's not motivation. You can't just say as an actor. You've got to say, you know.
Have you seen that Iron Man film where Ben Kingsley plays that kind of really awful evil guy and he turns out to
He's
be
a teacher.
some teacher from East London? It's hilarious, isn't it?
It's good.
You could have been that
I'd
could have
love
been
to
you.
have been. I'd like to have been.
I know.
Ben
Anyway, we
Kingsley.
digress.
He gets called
Okay.
Sir. Calls
I
himself
think the most
Sir all
important
the
thing
time.
is
Hold the hand out again. I'll kick up there, yeah. See, that
Very
was a
good.
different style.
He
You
did
see,
that
what
without
you're
saying any of the
expecting.
words on this list.
Exactly.
Now, shush, you. I need to apologise to Pablo for being very spiteful to you.
No,
you have got a major point.
It's fine. I just thought it might stimulate debate.
Yeah.
Chidge wasn't having it.
Basically, I think he played well for 45 minutes, and actually Torres is such a precious little individual that I think we need to encourage him and get behind him, because you know what? I think if anybody can get the best out of him, maybe it is Mourinho.
Yeah,
we had all given up on him before Mourinho came, but having seen that performance, I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe, just maybe. But I really want to move on. All I want to say,
when he came off the pitch, the word in his ear, I felt was really actually very revealing.
it was.
like
You
a
should have
kind of,
stayed down some. What I would like to say is this: I think that Torres wants it, sir. I think he does, and that's all very important, because if he does, then it might actually work. Now, I want to talk about Mata, because I think that was the real thing that changed the game for us, not necessarily the sending off.
And one of the reasons why Torres played better.
Very probably, yeah. But I just wanted to ask this question: was Jose being negative by not starting him, and do you think he trusts him now, Darren?
Firstly, whatever we think about Jose Mata, he's redeemed himself by that picture behind. Look at his face in that picture. I don't know if the viewers can see it properly.
They can?
Fantastic. But yeah, I think... Well,
He's like an animal, isn't he, Darren? He's like an animal. What animal is he?
That's frightening.
Yeah.
It looks like it's some sort of dinosaur. I
Yes.
don't know, you tell me.
I think he's
I
a
don't know if
dinosaur.
it's Tyrannosaurus Rex, though. What do you think?
No,
I think he looks like a guinea pig on PCP.
No, I think there's a pterodactyl in there, Cheech.
It's very, very weird. Anyway, do you think
Sorry,
do you
Darren.
think he's been too negative or what?
No, I think that it is classic Jose. He doesn't want people to play their own game, and it's only been a few games he hasn't played Mata for, and if Mata plays the way that Jose wants to play and Mata's happy playing it, then it's for the better of the team. If Mata doesn't like the way that Jose wants him to play, then sadly he won't be here past the end of the season.
Now, Ross, do you think that... I mean, I think that, you know, when Mata came on, we looked like a different team. I mean, we were whizzing the ball around much more effectively. The tempo was clearly increased, and we looked a lot more threatening. But do you think the corollary of that is that we end up looking a bit more vulnerable as well, or do you think we were still quite
Not
solid?
especially. I thought we looked a little vulnerable in the first half. I don't think that really changed in the second half. I think the biggest difference was Ramirez being moved into the centre. He certainly had a lot more of an influence on the game in the second half. And Spurs, you know, they'd seen us set up in a certain way, and Jose changed it slightly enough that I think it put them on the back foot.
Interesting. Loza, on the benches,
Hi.
what are they all saying out there about Juan Mata?
They're having a go at you for
Why?
cutting off Pablo.
Yeah, you know,
Right.
they always do. You see, okay, if you can back somebody who needs sympathy like Pablo, why can't they back an underdog like Torres? Is what
Everyone
I would
has.
Well, we did.
Yeah, I'm not talking about you.
No, but
about
I'm
them.
not just talking about me either.
That's the
talking
only thing
about
I could
most
think
Chelsea
about being
fans.
rude to them. I must try harder.
No, but I think most Chelsea fans did back Torres. We didn't give up on him.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that you.
I've given up on him.
point totally. What are they saying on Twitter? That's much more
I've
interesting.
totally given up as well.
Johnny T has said, poor song for Mata, but at least he had one song. That's so important. We were all going, we all needed a song for Mata.
Yeah, that Juan Mata, my lord. That's a Villa song. I'm not having
Yeah, I
that.
don't
No,
really
it's
like
rubbish.
it.
It's
But we
the
need a
time has
decent
now
song
come
for
when we
him.
need one.
Yeah, I think we do. I think we do. I can't think of one on the spur of the moment. The pressure got to me. Now, apart from Mata being brilliant, and actually, I'd just like to say this. I think the second half really showed how we should be playing, Darren. I think that was. I think that's the first time this season where I thought, you know what, I like that. That's how we should be playing, and I think a lot of that did have to do with Mata.
Yeah, sorry. You didn't look like you finished.
I have finished.
You did like you pausing to say something else. Yeah, I do agree with you, and I think obviously there needs to be change at half time. And like I was saying about Mikel, though, I agree with them playing him away from home, but I think it did help when Mikel was on the pitch as well, because we were more attacking and we were certainly more fired up in the second half. I think the best thing that probably happened for us was Spurs scoring in the first half, because it gave us more of a kick up the arse at half time. And I
it's a
think
bit stodgy to me when you play Mikel and Lampard.
Well, I was going to talk about that because I think there's a massive conundrum here with our defensive midfielders. Clearly, I think the change that Jose made, he realised that Mikel and Lampard are basically not the physical presence you need and are basically too slow. So I don't think it was just a question of bringing Mata on. It was also a question of bringing Ramirez into defensive midfield with Lampard, and I think that's what changed the game. And he pushes Oscar out wide. So we've got a bit of a conundrum there. And I think the other thing in the first half, I think the reason we lost that goal was because the DMs weren't picking up the runner. That's how Sigurdsson scored. Mikel was watching it.
Throughout the game, actually, there was a real problem with Dembele in particular, but Spurs' midfield just dancing around, flailing legs of Chelsea players up until the 18-yard box when we generally win the ball back. But the midfield as a whole was quite poor, and I don't think that changed defensively with Ramirez there. We just saw a lot more of the ball and we were a lot more effective in the second half because of it.
We also seem to be much more up for it. I don't know what Jose
I
said.
think
he put a rocket up there behind, didn't he?
I think going a goal down after we don't need to say anything. I just think that obviously they're going to be fired up for a second half. I mean, with the goal as well, though, I just don't think the defence are very well organised. Luiz went out wide. Ivanic was going into the middle. Terry had one, and then the second one came along as well. So we had two of them.
I think that's the lack of cover, though, isn't it, Ross?
I think you're right. The defensive midfield weren't quite in position, but Sigurdsson was playing wide left, and Ivanovic was tracking him throughout the goal, and he was just too slow, really.
Sorry, Ross, go on.
Well, I think it was mainly Ivanovic's fault, if you can apportion.
Yeah, I'm not really.
But I do
actually
agree
think
with
the
you.
defensive midfielders who are just not. I mean, I watched something on the. They actually showed the highlights of this on BT Sport, and they showed that Mikel was on the left chasing down somebody, and then the ball got moved around. He then ran the whole width of the pitch to go and chase down somebody else. It was like he was playing as the sole. Lampard was nowhere, frankly.
No, I agree. It was collective. And I agree with your point in general that the defensive midfielders aren't really athletic enough, and I think that was the reason why Spurs are on top. Is Dembele and Paulinho are both very quick, technical players. All
right, I just want to talk very quickly about John Terry and his great goal. I thought Spurs fans really hate JT, don't they? His mum is a thief, apparently.
Yeah, but they weren't giving him the racist abuse.
No, everybody was having to be behaved, weren't they? But I thought it was a great riposte by JT, and I thought it was a great riposte by our supporters with the whole double song consistently sung. Great captain's goal, a lovely assist by Mata, of course. I just thought, it's very interesting actually, because he came out with a comment over the weekend about Benitez, saying that he was actually fit all of last season, and the manager just wasn't picking.
We knew that.
Yeah, well,
we were saying it. Actually came out and said,
it was good that he, exactly, Darren.
But it gave Azpilicueta I said that correctly. Yeah, an opportunity to actually play right back, because it meant that JT wasn't playing, so he therefore put Ivanovic centre half. But now that JT is revealed as actually being fine and still a great player, it means that Ivanovic has to play right back.
Well, Azpilicueta only comes up for 1 minute at the end when Torres goes.
Yeah. So somebody has to.
We clearly still need him on the pitch.
Out.
He exerts a huge amount of influence, I think, doesn't he?
He's been hands down our best player so far this season.
And apparently Jose's in charge of... because obviously Emanalo's in charge of all the contracts, but Jose's specifically in charge of JT and Frank's contracts, I heard this week.
I do love, though, that you're probably saying that based on the media, the same outlets you're just coating off about.
Yeah, but I believe what I want. I always have.
It's his show.
I believe that is in fact a very fashionable shirt. Many other people might not.
I bought it 5 years ago. I don't really wear it. It's not got a jumper over it.
There we go. But I believe it is, and that's what I believe is all that matters. Now listen, I just have a quick roundup here, because I think the hilarious thing for me, apart from drawing that match, which I preferred to win, obviously, but a point up there is not a bad result. But I do think it was hilarious, all this kind of talking to the media, Darren, all this hype of Spurs as title contenders, and it was actually a genuine top of the table clash, hilariously enough, which you can't really say too often with Spurs involved. But I love the fact that we pricked that balloon. Are they really a threat, though? Do you think they're a threat this season, Pablo? You do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think.
But didn't AVB completely bottle it?
He did, yeah.
And
but
his little ginger beard.
They're still going to pick up the silly points against the rubbish teams, which actually is what it's going to come down to this year.
No, I think that AVB still doesn't know I don't think he'll get the best out of the team. He'll probably fall out with some players come Christmas time as well, and I don't think he'll ever. They're not going to be more than the highest they're going to finish is 4th. The lowest we're going to finish is 2nd. I don't think
they've got a much better squad than last year. I think that's the difference, haven't they? They've got more players.
I think they have.
Because of the Bale.
But they don't have the manager.
They don't have the manager. Now, benches, I want to hear from you, and I want to hear from the social media. Okay. Do we think that Tottenham are a threat, or do we just hate them?
I hate them.
We hate Tottenham! We hate Tottenham! We hate Tottenham!
We hate Tottenham!
See, there you go. I think that answers that. What do they say on social media, Lauren?
In the words of JT, we hate them as much as they hate us.
Is JT the only person listening or watching? Just a question.
I said in the words of JT as in John Terry.
Oh, that John Terry, not Johnny Turner.
If he's listening, hi.
Is Johnny Turner JT? Who could say? Anyway, look, listen, I've got very much... Well, this is, for me, the most important question of the entire evening, really. And this is... I've noticed something very disturbing, and it's not that Spurs are a threat, certainly in a footballing sense, but I think to our kind of visceral or visual sensibilities, they possibly are, because I think Spurs are a very ugly team, and I think as a result they should be made to play with bags on their heads. I think we've got an example here. That is a face that only a mother could love.
Handball!
I'm being deadly serious.
Are we seeing a bag over his
He's
head?
got a face like a smacked rear end. He looks awful. And that's, I mean, there's loads more I could have put up. We just happened to choose Kyle Walker, Lauren. If you fancy him, I'm very worried for you.
I think Loris is okay,
fit.
actually.
Sorry.
Well. I'm sorry to disagree with you.
Talking of Loris, actually, I've got another shot here. Listen,
I'm not speaking...
okay, I know you might fancy Loris.
I'm an actor.
You might fancy Loris.
No, I'm just in touch with my feminine side.
We know what you actors are like, you just don't mind.
I know, but we'd like being fancied by anybody.
AVB, we all know that AVB was a bit miffed when he got the elbow from Chelsea.
Muffed or miffed?
Miffed.
Miffed, okay.
I've got a theory that actually he might have nicked Petr Cech's orange kit when he went with him.
I think you're right.
He's stolen that. He stole that from Petr Cech, that kit.
Yeah.
AVB is an orange kit thief. Fact. What do you reckon?
He must have had a lot of orange highlighters to get rid of the black stripes as well, which is...
Oh, you're such a... You know what? You're going to make a great lawyer because you never say anything that's funny and nobody will like you. That is my final point on it. Now, I've got about a minute to wrap up. This is, I think, the important thing. I think that, I thought that, actually, here's a very good point. I thought Jose made a spectacularly good point that it was actually probably our best performance of the season, that second half. But what I really liked about what Jose said after the game, Pablo, this is a serious point, so I can ask you this, that Jose's honesty and lack of spin I found so refreshing. And it seems to be completely, what a surprise, the media have missed this. But if you think about most managers, when they do an after-match presser, they talk absolute rot and spin it out of all proportion. But Jose has been shooting straight all season. What do you think?
Yeah, and another example was tonight, prior to the Steaua Bucharest game, when he walked out of his conference after
I missed it, but I heard, yeah.
They asked him about Kevin De Bruyne, and his response was, "Why don't you ask me about the players on the pitch first? It was Mata when he wasn't playing, now someone else is," and then just left, and brilliant. Standard.
Darren, quickly, just a very quick point, you've got 10 seconds.
I think Mourinho's been good about, he talks up the team, he talks up the players, he admits responsibility for defeats and things like that. He does tell the truth. Sometimes he lies. Sometimes just to deflect away.
Yeah, I'm loving him. Anyway, what I love even more than Jose is our weekly fannies, Darren, and they are coming up after the break.
Chelsea, Chelsea, Chelsea.